Hello and welcome back to Wins Disco Tabletop Gaming. We are continuing on in part number 2 of our Death Guard model ranker series. Model rankings, star ratings, something like that. If you haven't seen the first episode of this, you can. There's a link in the description and also in the card. If I forget to put it in there. If I've forgotten, let me know. But hopefully it's in the card. So we only have a few more to go through. Probably at the end I'll recap what we've done last time. But we only got through half, and it took a lot longer than I thought. So let's just jump straight in. There's a few models to get through here. First up, we're looking at the easy-to-build Death Guard Pox Walkers. So when 8th edition came out, there were a ton of Pox Walkers. Now, this is only 6 of them. You can't buy the other ones separately at the moment. So I'm only going on what's, I guess, technically available, even though a few things are out of stock at the moment. So we're going to go for these 6. And straight up, there's so much character in all of these. Even though there's only 6, they're all very unique and diverse. They've horns and pus boils and just the grinning faces, which I love. Absolutely love those faces. And just so much detail in there. So we'll bring it up to be a little bit bigger here. So you can see, it's just, these models have so much character. And I'm just sort of looking, every time you look at them, because I still have a ton of these that I've still unpainted, and I'm sort of nervous to paint them because of just how much detail in it. I don't want to do them wrong. I want to do these models justice when I paint them, simply because they are beautiful. And it sort of exemplifies the whole idea of my love of Nurgle and Death Guard models. They're just disgusting, but at the same time, they're just brilliant sculpts. So let's have a look at a few of them. So we've got the big boy with the big pointy arms, which is always an interesting one. I've always liked this one. It's just, again, the face is just so good. And you can just see there's so much detail from like the 3 giant Nurgle pus boils on the front to that cheeky grinning face. This almost has like its lips stripped away. So all like the bony thorns coming out and growth and protrusions to like all the boils and everything. You just throw some paint on here and it just looks good. Like you can even paint it with just washes and it's going to turn out really nice. So we've got another one here with gut coming out of its stomach, which is really cool. And what I found with these kits, I bought a few of this particular kit, the easy to build one, and just cutting them up and sticking bits onto Primaris Marines and Nurglefying them. And I kind of want to keep going on with that because I haven't really gone back, so I haven't finished all those models. But you get all the bone and stick them on the faces, stick them on like shoulder pads and all the guts and stuff. I do apologize if you can hear some banging at the moment. There's been some renovations going on in the building, so hopefully it's not going to be too annoying though. But you know, you have all these weird little tiny bits of detail in there. So I'm obviously gushing about these models, just like all the pus boils and the holes are gushing with disgusting putrid bodily fluids. Like that's disgusting. It's just super, super gross. So there are a lot there. Let's just go back to some more details. So you can just see there's so much details there. So we've talked a lot about the plus sides, but we've got to look at some of the negatives here. For me, Pox Walkers all have to be unique and individual. Every single one has to be different. The problem is you need to run huge units of them. Like 6 is not enough. You'll be running them in 10 to 20 because it's just so like if I played, I'd probably only run units of 20 of them because they're just so ridiculous. They're cheap and it's kind of this whole idea of cannon fodder and like zombies that the Death Guard have raised. So because you can only get 6, it's sort of like, oh, if I have a unit, I'm going to have like 3 or 4 of the same model repeated so many times. So that is a big negative. In the Dark Imperium starter sets, there are more. Hopefully you'll be able to get them soon. I don't see why they wouldn't release that part of those sets, particularly Dark Imperium, as a start collecting Death Guard kit. When it does, that's amazing. So I find that as a bit of a negative. So I'm not trying to find that middle ground between the models themselves versus how you would use them. And if I err on the side of just the models, it's an easy 5. But if I think about, well, how do you actually use them as a 4? I'm going to focus on the models themselves, not how you use them in a game. So honestly, it is a very easy 5. These models are just amazing. I just wish there was more in this kit. And I think if there were a bigger set, so you could get them in a pack of 10, they're all unique and individual, an easy 5. Wouldn't you be questioning it? It's an easy 5. But I am giving this a 5. I love it. It's one of the best model kits of this range. So that's a 5. Next up, we have the Foul Blight Spawn, which is another one of the unique characters. And if you've done the maths, and I hope I've done these maths correctly, there are 7 different characters, because 7 is Nurgle's magic number. You've got the Icon Bearer, Scribius Wretch, the Foul Blight Spawn, Nauseous Rotbone, Typhus, the Death Guard Marine Champion, and there's another one that I think I'm missing off the list, so maybe I've completely mixed it. Ooh, who knows? But I think there's 7. Anyway, not the point. The Foul Blight Spawn. It's a really cool, interesting model. So let's have a look. So you do get a lot of detail on here. Almost a bit too much. And this is part of like model design. And we saw that if you watched the last video with the Scribius Wretch, the Tallyman, I think that's the right one. There was too much going on. This is a little better than that, simply because you do have the spikes coming out, the arm off to the side, the backpack here, which is a big backpack. And at different angles, you're going to have more detail, which we'll see in the 360. So let that load and we'll just move it around. So you do get, even on here, you get some more spiky bits, which you don't really see from front on. And you have that very big backpack that's almost bigger than the whole torso, and then a huge cable and some heads and bits going off. So when you compare it to the Tallyman from a silhouette perspective, which is if you just had it completely black and you didn't see any detail, it becomes a bit more identifiable. And that's why I marked the Tallyman down. I think a 3 I gave it, simply because it was too busy. And I have a similar issue with this one. I like the model. I love how fat that model is, just like how that stomach is just protruding out. And how it's built in, like the mechanical arm is built in, and that just goes around to the back, to the big shooter gun, whatever it's called. I don't even know off the top of my head. And of course it has a Nurgling, the cutest Nurgling, not the best Nurgling. We know that's from the Death Guard Marine Champion, which got a 5 specifically for that. But this Nurgling's super cute. I like this model. I love the chunkiness of it, but even from this side, there's a lot going on. I think it's a bit too busy. So we go to some more details here. Again, it's packed with detail, which is all the Nurgle models are. Except I think there was one which didn't have a lot of model. The Death Guard Marine Champion didn't have a lot of detailing there. But you get a lot of detail. Throw some paint on, it's going to look good, because it's going to get into all the cracks, all the potholes, and all the different bits and pieces. So it's really nice. And on the big canister there, I'm really sorry about the banging. It's actually really frustrating. Hopefully it's not getting into the mic too much. You can do some freehand stuff on there, which is really cool. It gives you the options to, you can just paint it up something, but it gives you the option to do some cool stuff. I do love the head, sort of like half mechanical, half almost grossness eye, infected eye. So it's cool, but like I said, one of the negatives is it's a bit too busy for me. And when you compare it to the Tallyman, it's a little better. There's a lot more identifiable things, where the Tallyman was very green, and it didn't have like the extra skulls, the tabards, and all like extra bits of armor and different, I guess, colors and different material and textures that you can paint up in different ways. So in saying that, I'm going to give this a 4. I think it's a worthy 4. I definitely can't justify 5. Hang on, I just want to bring up that 360 again. I could justify a 3 on it, but I think when compared to the Tallyman, it is a better model overall. I think it is a bit too busy, but, we're going to go for a 4. What do you reckon? Let me know down in the comments below. So next up, we have the new Typhus. So there are a lot of people that don't like this model, particularly the pose. I don't I'm okay with it. I'm okay. From a silhouette perspective, it's a very strong model. You know this is Typhus. It is busy, which I think Death Guard models, you do have to have a lot of detail, but that's different to busyness. Like on this model, you have like a little nurgling there hanging on. You've got all various different flies everywhere. And you have like smoke coming out, different materials, like particularly down in this area, down on his bottom left leg. You have on the left side, you have a lot of different materials and different shapes and colors going on. So it starts to get a bit muddy. And the same in this bit here. You have all those flies at the back, so it starts to darken up a bit. So you start to lose that, I guess, the depth of field. On the back, I mean, honestly, the flies themselves aren't too bad. It just starts to get very, very busy. I don't think it needs to be that decorated as such. I mean, the back's not too bad. In other models of this kind, you have the horizontal armor, but it doesn't have that banding on the back. I like having that banding there. It gives you a chance to break up that like single color, which is very nice. I'm just looking through. There's a lot of other detail, like the hand detail is really nice, although the hand seems very small. I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. But again, even up in here, you have the horned helmet, but from a silhouette perspective, you wouldn't even see that because it's not protruding out of that silhouette. Like you can basically all this area, even down to the bottom of the scythe into the body, it's just going to be one big black area. So from a distance, it's very busy. You could probably get around that with some better color choices. Like not have a lot of contrasting colors because you've got greens, deep reds, whites, silvers, blacks, and grays and whites, and a whole bunch of different colors. So it's starting to get too busy. The pose itself, I don't mind the pose. I think that's fine. But again, it's similar to what was happening with the Foul Blight spawn, where it was getting too busy. So there is a fine line where you have the Pox Walkers, which has a lot of detail, but there isn't a lot of stuff to it. It's a lot of texture on the skin, a lot of protrusions, but very large protrusions that you can easily identify from a distance or in silhouette. So saying that, we'll have a look at a bit more, at the detail. I mean, I think the flies are really cool, but like you can just look at this top left image with those little flies and the smoke and the armor and various different flies. It's way too busy for me. I don't think it needs to be that many. And here's another shot here, different lighting. Again, like you have the different lighting. So with this lighter green, it does give a bit more depth to it. You can see the different shapes on there. But again, it's still, and it gets onto the other side, it's still very flat to me. And so in saying that, I think that, I feel like this is on par with the Foul Blight spawn, which got 4 stars. I think I'm going to have to give this 4 stars as well. No, I'm going down to 3 stars. I think I have to. For me, if we go back to this, we'll go back to the 360 image. This whole front section is a lot going on, even though it's all the flies are at the back, the smoke's at the back too. There's a lot going on. You can't really make out like the facial features or like the head in itself. And when you go around the back, like that is just, to me, that is an absolute mess. So I'm gonna have to give this a 3. I know I feel harsh giving that a 3, but at the same time, I just think there's too much going on. I think if you got rid of the flies, these flies here, and then on the back made that just smoke, and probably more coming out, if we go on the side on, coming out more at a 90 degrees angle, like these pipes, weird, creepy bone pipes going further and more of like a 45-degree angle. The smoke could be going out, billowing out, and then coming down. You wouldn't have the smoke up here, which takes away from the body. And you won't have these flies down here, which again, muddies this whole shape in here. And then you will get the horn itself coming up. And you could even probably pull this down a bit just to identify the head a little more. So it's a stylistic choice. You probably can get away with it with some conversion work. And if I ever pick one of these models up, I'll probably give it a shot. But as the model as it stands, that's a 3. So we are already 16 minutes into recording. And we're only up to the third models. Yeah, I'm very big on design. I went to art school. Dad's an artist, did a lot of design stuff. So I have a very big interest in it and how amazing design works. And how design can be very simple things that you can do that can completely change the design of things. So in saying that, let's move on to the Plague Marines. So first of all, this kit has a whole bunch of options. And I know in the first video with I think it was the Blight Lord Terminators, I talked about the different options. I'm not going to focus on the options. I want to go a general overview. Well, the options for Death Guard are extremely important, but we want to go off like the general idea of the models themselves. So if we bring this up to be bigger, there's some really strong poses here. There's a ton of different detail. Just looking through, again, like this is a Death Guard Nurgle army. It just screams out for different detail, for like bodies that have teeth and tongues and cuts, and then different kind of masks, helmets, and protrusions everywhere. I think each model can be its own individual and unique entity, which is very cool for Nurgle. And I think like I've said so many times, all Death Guard models need to be unique and different. And with this kit, you do get a lot of stuff to do that, but let's not focus on that. So the kit itself, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 models, which is the magic number of Nurgle. Weird in the rules because they call for a unit of 10. So, it's a little weird. Yeah, I don't quite get it. But you get a plethora of various different models, like different parts. You get like a head, a bare face, different helmets. Basically, like these two models here, essentially the same helmet, but one's with a spike, one's with a pointy bit. The same with here. It's a slightly different shape on the eyes. Just subtle enough that each model becomes different. The backpacks are all different. You have bits with pipes sticking out. You have more like copper ones with different bits of metal, the old school Space Marine ones. Tons and tons and tons of cool detail, which is very nice. So go look a bit more. Like we've got tentacles coming out. Again, these models really walk that fine line of having not enough detail or too much detail. And we've seen that so far. Like with the last few models we've talked about, the Blight Spawn and Typhus, there's too much detail. It's almost overbearing. These models definitely pull it back, which is really nice. And with certain paint jobs, yeah, you can minimize that. But you do get some really cool looking models here. Again, like different shoulder pads. I love you get options. Different things like on this weird tooth bone axe, you have the strapping starting to come off. You have, even on the armor here, I don't know if the highlighting lines, edge highlighting going up from the teeth are part of the model itself, but you get that opportunity to extend upon what the model is there. And in other models, you don't really get that choice. Again, just like a little weird tongue here, a little Nurgle symbol over there. Just these little touches of detail really add like little bits of drip coming out of that backpack. And again, this is like this model here. That base we've already seen in, I think it was this one here. No. Okay, we've seen the basically essentially this base of the model here with a different body, a different head, different arm, different backpack. Because you can mix and match all different pieces, every model is going to be unique. So no model is going to be the same, which I absolutely love. And I do love the old school backpacks. I think they're really cool. Not so much the arms coming up, but just that whole design there, the angular design with the fan out the back. Again, so much detail. And we go into more of the detail here. Various different kinds of weapons, which is very cool. Various different kinds of heavy weapons as well, which is very, very nice. And again, even here we got another head we hadn't seen yet. Another one we haven't seen, you know, with different weapons and different shoulder pads. I love this kit. And because I'm gushing about it, and before I've been talking about this for like 5 or 6 minutes now. What do we give this kit? For me, I'm 5. I have to give this a 5. I know I'm very free with my star ratings, but this kit is brilliant for the models you get in it. Just grabbing whatever out of it and putting it together, you're going to get interesting, unique things that take paint very well. You can experiment and do some really cool things with it, really dirty them up and muddy them up and do all kinds of things. Like on this one, you have the option to do some tentacles. And like I said, with the Blight Spawn and Typhus, there was too much detail. There's just a couple of little tentacles sticking out. And that's it. Like that's all, like couple of horns, which are very clearly identifiable. Even on this face here, like a couple of teeth and the mouth. It's not overbearing. It's very muted and pulled back. And I think that's why I'm going to give it a 5. So next up, we have the Folded Bloat drone. So this is the, not the easy to build kit. This is the full version. You do get one of these in the 8th edition starter sets. Not as detailed, but still pretty cool. There is a lot going on for this design. I mean, straight away, you get the 3 fans, which calls back to the symbols of Nurgle, which you can see down here as well, which is really cool. That's like very, very identifiable straight away, and a very conscious design choice. And because of that, you get this very identifiable shape. So you have this very long body, and then like the 3 fans or jets. So you put a silhouette on that, you can see it straight away, even without the models. Take the guns, take those away, and it's fine. I love the mix of the mechanical and the organic cabling that's falling down. I love that. I love the distressed look of all the different contraptions on here, how it's all cut away and old. It's got bones moving in there. You've got the bones coming out of the top, I guess, of this carapace thing, and revealing that underneath that there is something like living or can you say living? Who knows? And if we go to the back, there's just so much detail here in the back. It's just, if you saw this thing up front and this was the only image you saw, you'd have no idea about this at the back. It's like this, when you look at it, there's just this reveal of some monstrosity, some alien cosmic horror nightmare thing that's wearing armor or has armor attached to it somehow, like riveted in, or it's grown onto that. Like on here you have like the different tendons going down, and like all the cabling coming down that's kind of real, kind of not, and the different variations, like on here, tiny little face, which is real weird, cute and weird. So you do get a few different variations on the faceplate, which is cool. Different weapon variations. So we go into some detail here. Again, even slide on, you have a very strong silhouette. And if you saw that, you'd probably have a good idea of what this is. So I really love that. It's kind of like, with the way that the cabling is, has that forward momentum. You can just imagine it slowly hovering across. So if the cabling was just dangling straight down, you'd just be like, oh, it's standing still. But as it's moving across, you have the cable intestines, I guess, being dragged along the ground, leaving out all its pus in the background there. So I like it. I think it's a very strong model. And I feel like I'm ranking things really high today. From all of that design work, there's a lot going on in the model, but because you have that larger scale, particularly on the front here, it's not overbearing. It's not cluttered or busy or messy. Like these flies here, it's not necessary. And if I was doing this, I would probably get rid of them, but it's clearly identifiable. as a bloat drone. I love the movement from the tentacle cables and intestine cables. I really do like that. So I have to give this a 5. I really do. And I feel like I'm pushing these numbers up, but I really love this model. I think it's such a good model. Such a good design overall. So like side on, such a good silhouette. From the back, it's still really cool. Like, you know what this is. And I love, as you go around, you just reveal more and you learn more about this whole monstrosity nightmare creature. It just reveals more and more about itself the more you look at it. It's almost like there's this, you can tell yourself a story of this revealing of what it actually truly is, which is a nightmare. So yeah, easy. I think that is an easy 5. Next up, we have the nauseous Rotbone, the Plague Surgeon. So this is an interesting model. It has a lot more open space compared to the other Death Guard infantry models. And by open space, I mean you have a lot of fabric going down that doesn't have a lot of stuff on it. So it is different compared to some of the other models. And if you compare it to some of the other character models, such as the Tallyman, the Blight Spawn, and there was another one that I've lost. I can't remember what it is. The one with all the glass things that it throws. I think that was cool. This isn't as busy. I like it, but I also think it's one of the weaker ones. And I'm trying to figure out exactly why I think that. I think it has a lot of cool stuff on it, but I also think it's almost a little bit too simple for a Death Guard. I just feel that there's this whole big space here that is just not utilized. It doesn't give me anything. I would have liked it if this was more tattered, torn up, and things coming through, like maybe a tentacle was creeping out from underneath or cut through, or maybe even a horn coming out the side somehow. Like even at the back here, I mean, I love the flow of that cape, and I love the holes in it and the attention to detail on the paint job. But I feel like there is a lot of empty space, which might be okay for things like Loyalist Space Marines, particularly the Primaris. If they have a cape, it would make sense that that was there because they don't have tentacles and spikes and horns coming out of them. But I feel like there's just a little bit lacking here. Oops, sorry about that. Let's go back to the big screen. We get some more detail shots here. Yeah, the backpack's really nice. I like that. I just love the room you get to play with Death Guard and Noble stuff. It's like everything's sort of cobbled together. They've grabbed what they can. It's all falling apart. I can imagine that bits and pieces have just been, like this wire here has been put in just to keep the machine going, which is cool. So, yeah, I mean, it's not really selling it to me. And I think it is this, this weird, sorry, it keeps quitting on me. This weird composition, like the pose itself is fine, but there's this weird big space here. So as you go around the model, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't quite understand what the intention is with this big fabric space. So we're already half an hour in and I've still got ages to go. So we're going to give this one a, what shall we do? I'm kind of not that intrigued by the model. It doesn't draw me in. So I'm going to give it a 3. I think that's fair. Yeah. So it's sort of the opposite of Typhus, where Typhus was over busy. The silhouette was hard to identify because there was so much going on. This is almost the opposite. There's a lot of space there that I don't understand the purpose of. So we're going to stick with a 3 on that one, I think. And you know what? Because this video has been going half an hour, I'm going to have to leave it there because I don't want these videos to run very long because I still have some big ones to get through. I hope you are enjoying this series. Let me know in the comments which is your favorite out of this video. And if you haven't seen the first one, definitely check the comments. There'll be a link there to go back to to that one and you can see how we've rated those, because I've just randomly picked them. I opened up all the tabs and just randomly rearranged them. So didn't really know, there was no particular order that I was doing anything in. And also let me know what army you want to see next in this series and we'll get that going. So thank you for watching and I will see you next time for part 3.